Hey guys, this is the 23rd video in the Great Spiritual Awakening series. Today we're going to talk about how the soul became human. Many people around the world believe in spirituality. Spirituality is the idea that there is a part of us that isn't made of matter, space, and time, and this part of us survives death. If we are truly not made of matter, space, and time, then how did we become humans? This is one of the great mysteries in spirituality. On the one hand, the spirit isn't made of matter, space, and time, but on the other hand, the human is made of matter, space, and time. How did one become the other? I'm going to share a short story that will help us answer this question. Rufus wanted to know the answers to some of the deepest mysteries of the universe, and one of the questions he wanted answered was, how did the soul become human? So Rufus went to a spiritual teacher named IA, and he asked him the question, how did the soul become human? What is your favorite food? Asked IA. Apple pie, said Rufus. But what does that have to do with anything? I want you to imagine an apple pie, said IA. Okay, said Rufus. Can I see, smell, touch, taste, or feel your imaginary apple pie? Asked IA. No, said Rufus. Can I weigh or measure your imaginary apple pie? Asked IA. No, said Rufus. If I take your imaginary apple pie and I put it in a real bucket that is full of real water, will the water overflow? Asked IA. No, said Rufus. IA said, you see, the imaginary apple pie is not made of matter, space, and time. That's why you cannot sense it and measure it, and it doesn't take up any space when you put it in a bucket full of real water. Interesting, said Rufus. IA continued, if you can take an imaginary apple pie and turn it into a real apple pie, then you will have the answer to your question. But how do I do that? Asked Rufus. I'll be here tomorrow, said IA. Come to me then. Rufus went home and he thought about what IA said. Then Rufus went to sleep and he began to dream. In his dream, he saw an apple pie. He touched the apple pie with his hands. He smelled the apple pie with his nose. He tasted the apple pie with his mouth. He heard the sound of him biting into an apple pie. After eating a slice of apple pie, Rufus decided to weigh the apple pie with a scale. Then he measured the apple pie with a ruler, and then he put the apple pie in a bucket that was full of water. When he put the pie in the water overflowed. This apple pie is definitely real, said Rufus. There's no doubt about it. Suddenly, Rufus awoke and he realized that his experience with the apple pie was all a dream. Then Rufus thought about what IA said. IA said that if you can turn an imaginary apple pie into a real apple pie, then you can understand how the soul became a human. Rufus was able to turn the imaginary apple pie, which cannot be sensed and measured, into an apple pie that can be sensed and measured. Rufus met with IA again. I think I've got the answer, said Rufus. What is it? Asked IA. The way to turn an imaginary apple pie into a real apple pie is by going from an awake state to a dream state, said Rufus. When I was awake, the apple pie could not be seen with the eyes and touched with the hands. It could not be measured and it took up no space. Yes, said IA, but when I began to dream, Rufus continued, my mind created its own matter, space, and time, and by doing so, I was able to see the apple pie with my eyes and touch the apple pie with my hands, and I measured the apple pie. Brilliant, said IA. So what have you learned? If I'm not mistaken, said Rufus, life is a dream. Yes, said IA. Consciousness is not made of matter, space, and time, said Rufus, but it creates matter, space, and time, and that's how the soul became a human. IA applauded Rufus. You see, the only way to turn an apple pie that does not exist in space and time into an apple pie that does exist in space and time is by going from an awake state to a dream state. Similarly, the only way to turn a being that is not made of matter, space, and time to a being that is made of matter, space, and time is by going from an awake state to a dream state. Life is a dream created by our minds, and death is the awakening. It's the realization that we are souls who go through dreams. Hey guys, if you're looking for a thought-provoking spiritual book, check out The Great Spiritual Awakening. The link is in the description. And in the next video, we will learn about whether plants are conscious. Click on the thumbnail to watch the video, and last but not least, have an amazing, wonderful day.